Good morning. Buenos dias. Surprise, surprise. uh, I know a lot of you are probably here looking for the one and only Rashida Dow. She is not here today and asked me to step in and do a little bit of a takeover. So hopefully you are not disappointed. Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás? How y'all doing? Ah, if you're like, who is this woman? Why is she here? Hello. My name is Adalia Aborisade. Although a lot of folks know me as Vicky Girl Travels the World. Um, I am a financial educator and coach who left the United States almost 10 years ago. What are we at, like 9.5 years? July will make 10 years. Um, and what else y'all need to know about me? Oh, yesterday was my birthday. You are looking at a newly 51-year-old woman right here. Hey, hey. Um, and I'm very happy to be here with y'all today to talk a little bit of money. And I'm not going to say I'm nervous, but I am concerned that I give you the experience that Rashida gives you each week. So, um, we're gonna have to figure out some segues in there and some side quests and things like that. Thank you to those in the chat for the birthday wishes. My birthday, in case y'all were curious, was very, very low key yesterday when I turned 50 last year. Big weekend long extravaganza this year, very, very low key, which is exactly what I wanted. Although I am going to have a sort of, what do you call it? A bookcation. One of my favorite authors, if not my most favorite author, has a book coming out on Tuesday. And it is a totally new series that they're writing, and it's a very big book. And so I would like to read it unencumbered by responsibilities or things like that. So I am going to take a little bit of a staycation so that I can read my new book. That is how I am celebrating 51 years on this rock. All right, y'all. I guess we should go ahead and get started. Rashida wanted me. I love you for saying this, but y'all see all this gray hair. So I don't look as young as I used to, and that's fine. That's fine. I am happy to be here. I think we can say that. So, because the alternative to aging, we all know what that is. So no, aging is a gift, and I am more than willing to receive it. So, we're gonna jump into our topic today about like financial blind spots that are hurting you. And I was thinking about, like what is a blind spot? And that if you think about like when you're driving, you're backing out, the blind spot is what you don't normally see doing something as normal as backing a car out of a parking spot, but it only takes you one time to accidentally hit something or someone to learn that, like, oh, even though I don't normally see that area, I really should make a point to pay attention to it. And so when it comes to our money, there are absolutely areas like that, things we don't naturally pay attention to, very easy to miss, that actually end up hurting us and costing us a lot in the long run because we're not paying attention to those. Um, and I'm looking at my notes here, trying to think what is the first one that I want to talk about, and also struggling to read my handwriting without my glasses, which is one of the joys of being a 51-year-old. Um, I will start with probably the thing. This is like my, what is it? Not my molehill. The thing that, what do you call it? See, the the hill I'm willing to die on. That's what it is. The hill I'm willing to die on. I think one of the biggest financial blind spots is not knowing where your money is going and what it is doing. A lot of the conversations that happen in the finance space is, or at least what women often get, a lot of it is about budgeting. And you need to budget, blah, blah, blah. If you are not familiar with me, I don't budget and I really don't believe in it, which I know sounds like a wild thing coming from the mouth of a financial coach. With the way my brain is set up, budgeting doesn't work for me. But to me, that's a very different thing than knowing where your money is going, where you are spending. Um, a lot of folks, and in my line of work, particularly when I'm working with clients one-on-one, uh, I will ask, okay, so what are your monthly expenses? And y'all would be shocked, or maybe some of y'all wouldn't be, the number of folks who can't tell me what their life costs each month because they don't know where the money is going. And so not tracking your spending, not knowing where your money is going is a huge, huge, huge blind spot. Because you can't really make any substantial changes or improvements to your situation financially if you don't know what your money is doing. There's a saying that if you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to tell you where it's been. So that would be number one on my list. Because when you don't know where your money is going, it's very hard to make adjustments, to make improvements. You want to do something big like move abroad. You want to pivot out of a employment situation that is not serving you. And if you don't have a clear picture of where your money is going, how you are using your money, how can you make any of those decisions? Unfortunately, I've seen folks take on new debt without having a clear idea of how close they were. There's what you bring in, there is the money going out. And ideally, you want there to be a gap between those two numbers. And if you don't know how much you have going out, because for most of us, how much we have coming in is a very fixed number, and how much going out can change periodically. But if you don't have any idea of how much money you have going out, and you're like, oh yeah, there's this trip coming up, or I want to do this thing, let's go for it. Not realizing you're getting that gap between those two numbers is getting closer and closer. And you might actually be pushing yourself into the negative because you don't realize like, oh, I'm actually spending more than I make. Y'all, the number of clients that I have worked with who really didn't have, like, vaguely conceptually they knew like, oh, I've got some debt, like I got some credit cards, I'm not paying them in, but they didn't really understand that they were spending more money than they made, like living well beyond their means. And in my opinion, uh this comes back to not knowing where your money is going, not tracking your spending. Um, and again, I'm talking about spending. I'm not talking about budgeting. I don't want us uh, to confuse the two. Raven C says, not budgeting is not foreign to me, but my limit is based on what comes in for the month. I know that I have bills coming like life insurance, and I plan to spend less. I use something that I got from Paula Pant of the Afford Anything podcast years and years ago, called like the No Budget Budget, uh, where it's a very similar concept. You fund your priorities first, and then you don't have to worry about the rest, because however much money you have left is how much money you can spend. So those priorities are things like the rent, the insurance, the utilities, but also if there is a particular financial goal you had. Like for me, uh, travel was one of my priorities, and so I funded that off the top. As soon as I got paid, I set aside a portion, went into in my Ally savings account. You know, it has how it has those different buckets. I had a bucket specifically set up for um, for travel, and the money went there. And so after I funded my priorities, whatever is left, I don't have to think about how am I spending, should I spend all of this, blah blah blah, because I've funded my priorities. It's uh, not not a it's not an issue. It's not an issue. So that's probably for me the biggest blind spot I see that catch people kind of unawares. And sort of related to that same thing is spending without without purpose, without intention. Because again, you need to spend, or I shouldn't say need, that if you are, because I think those two things go hand in hand with each other. If you are not tracking how you spend your money, it's very easy to spend in a kind of undirected way where it's like, oh, that's, that's only $5, that's only $2, blah blah blah. And then when you finally sit down and look at it, you're like, oh, all of those little small things add up to a very substantial number. And I didn't realize, my sweet treat habit is costing me $200 a month or something like that. Okay. Wise words. CK says, you seem to be describing deceptive credit card use, meaning it is used as extra money to extend spending versus a loan. Yes, this is I got a lot of hot takes about things, and I refer to credit cards as loans because that's what they are. And I thought everybody understood that. I got my first credit card when I was 15. There's not a there's not a whole lot of like great things that came out of my childhood, but uh It's funny how people tell on themselves. Low key, if there's anybody with a sweet treat problem, it is me. But if this is not just to Rashida, but to anybody, uh, if if what I say today, you find a little bit of yourself there, that's okay. Sit with that. Feel the feelings there and see if there's some adjustment you need to make. But yes, I did. I got my first credit card when I was 15. And like I said, not a lot of like great helpful things with my adult life came out of my childhood. Really, I'm out here on the pulling myself up by my own bootstraps. But uh my mother put me on one of her credit cards to help me build a credit history. And I was 15 at the time. Hell, I was working a job. And I understood, if you don't pay those people, you don't pay those Visa people every month, you don't pay them the entirety of what you owe, they're going to charge you for it. And if there's one thing that is true about me today at 51, that was true about me back then at 15, I don't like paying people for access to my money or anything like that. So like, well, go pay them people no interest. But I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, we were talking about YCK's comment. So yeah, like since I was 15, I understood very clearly that credit cards are loans. And so that may very well be a blind spot for some folks, because it wasn't until I started doing this work, helping women with their finances, that I realized how many people saw credit cards as an extension. That is more money I have to spend, which, you know, there's a lot of things I could say about that. But in particular, like you wouldn't go to the bank to take out a loan to get your nails done. Typically, you would not do that. But we don't think about, when you put your credit card down, you're thinking about convenience of payment, which it is true, it is that. But you're also, if you already have a balance on that card, you just took out an additional loan to get your nails done, or if there is no balance on the card, but at the end of the month, you don't pay them people all the money you borrowed for them, they're going to charge you for that. So, yeah. So that may be a blind spot for some folks, that how they have looked at credit, be it a credit card, be it what is it, the buy now, pay later things. Those are all loans. And nobody, except maybe your mama or your daddy, is going to loan you money for free. They are not doing that out of the kindness of their hearts. They are in business to make money off of you. And so that's something to understand. I am by no means saying like, oh, credit is bad and we shouldn't. No, 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 no. We just need to really understand what's going on there and not have a blind spot when it comes to those. Okay. Scrolling through your comments here. Okay. So that is one of our blind spots. Good morning, Stephanie. When I was a credit analyst, we immediately closed accounts when people carried a balance on food and gas. Lots of customers didn't understand why. This is something else people don't realize is, I think we think, okay, I got this credit card because I work a job, I have, money in the bank, I have this credit history. But again, they're not giving you the ability to take out a loan from them out of the kindness of their heart. They want to make money. and they're trying to figure out who are the best people to make money for. So people who are credit analysts, like what Stephanie used to do, they're looking at how you spend money on those cards. It is not, it feels like it's yours to do whatever you want with, but that's actually not the case at all. They, what is it? They giveth and they taketh away. Um, Having a balance of just food and gas communicates to them like, oh, you using this credit card, not like to amplify your lifestyle and be a consumer. You're using this credit card to survive. Folks who are doing that are probably less likely to be able to pay and may default. So they're like, no, they want somebody who is going to be a good borrower. Um, and what you think a good borrower is and what they think a good borrower is are not always the same thing. Okay. Um, okay. Uh, Wise words. You are on the same page with me because the next thing on my list, she says fees are a blind spot that add up significantly and consume funds. Yes. And what I have here on my list is a blind spot is not knowing what your credit is costing you in interest and in fees. The because I am a traveler and am on the internet, and so kind of like, and I'm somebody who lives outside the US. Did I told y'all that? For the new people, I live in Mexico City now. I'm in a lot of online spaces where people talk about how they travel, how they finance their travel, that sort of thing. And fees and interest when it comes to credit cards, y'all. Okay. And again, we're spending a lot of time on credit cards, and I don't want y'all to think I'm anti-credit card because I am not. But there are lots of blind spots that if you're not very careful, it's going to take all your money. It really is. Um, like we can start with fees. I've heard people talk about using their credit card to get cash advances when they travel from an ATM machine. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that instead of using your debit card? And I'm guessing the blind spot here is they don't understand that that is not treated in the same way as you just charging dinner on your credit card. That when you take out a cash advance, the interest rate is significantly higher. There may be, depending on your cards, there may be fees specifically associated with that, just like there are the ATM withdrawal fees. But also, the interest is calculated differently and kicks in like immediately. So that's one blind spot I've seen. Uh, Interest is another. Not knowing how much your credit cards charge you in interest will come back to bite you in the ass. It is going to cost you a significant amount of money in the long run. And I am not a fan of giving people money who don't deserve it. And I don't think the credit card companies deserve extra money. Not if we can help it, not if we can help it at all. Um, and so, again, I think this goes to what we were talking about before, how with credit cards, particularly if people aren't grounded in the idea that like, oh, this is a loan. When I am using it, whether you're paying your credit card in full at the end of the month, it's still a loan. You are borrowing money. Now you can't, it's like I'm borrowing this money and I can pay it all back at the end of the month, or I can pay you part of it back at the end of the month, but it is still a loan. And so I can't think of any other situation in which you would take out a loan and not know how much those folks are going to charge you to borrow their money. And I would add to that, totally related to interest and fees when it comes to credit card, is folks getting credit cards because they want free travel. They want miles. They want points. The biggest blind spot I see is folks forgetting, disregarding, ignoring the fact that, one, if you carry a balance, your travel perks, the miles, the points, whatever you're getting, it's no longer free if you have a balance, because they're charging you double-digit interest on those purchases. And so it's not free. And I have seen it play out, because it sounds on the surface like, well, duh. But I have seen it play out where people aren't thinking about it. They just know, like, oh, I'm getting cash back on this card. I'm getting these miles and I'm using it for this. But if you're carrying a balance on that card, you're paying for it. It is no longer free. Same as another aspect of this is it slowly changes. And I think this is a huge blind spot when it comes to trying to play the miles game, is if you are not careful, it can change your spending behavior, because you've got the idea that, oh, let me put everything I can on this card so I can get the miles. Nothing wrong with that. But if you are starting to spend money in ways you normally wouldn't have so that you can get the miles, even if you pay off the card every month, you're still spending extra money. You're still spending without intention. And that will cost you, because that extra money, first of all, with most cards, what you're getting in miles or point versus the amount you actually have to spend, nobody ever thinks about that. But that extra money you are unconsciously spending because you're trying to get the most points, that's money that could have done other things that maybe would yield a larger return. So yes, fees, interests, again, I am not trying to be anti-credit card, because I know if somebody just popped in, they're like, "Ooh, that woman, she sure hates credit cards." Actually, no, I don't. But I think you have to have a plan. You have to consider the possible blind spots, the areas that will cost you in the long run. That, so that you don't spend your money in ways that you don't get very much benefit, because that's what we want. We want your money to go to work for you, to buy you the things you need, to buy you the things you want. We want your money to make your I forgot my train of thought left, to make your life easier. I am scrolling through the comments to see if y'all have any questions so that we can get them answered. Rebloom Room says, tip, put a payment date in your calendar to pay off the credit card without fail. That, and I love the idea, for many reasons, of paying off your credit cards every week. because it's easier. If you pay off your credit cards every week, it forces you to sit down and realize how you've spent your money, which goes back to the very, very first thing we said this morning, about like not knowing where your money is going. So if every Wednesday, every Friday, every Saturday morning, you sit down and you pull out all those receipts for the stuff that you bought for this week, and you add it up and you send the credit card an immediate payment, keeps you from carrying a large balance, lowers the likelihood that you're not going to be able to pay off the card at the end of the month, and it forces you to confront, oh, look how much money I spent this week. Does this align with my goals? Does this support the things that I say I want to do with my money? So I love that idea of paying off your cards, um, regularly. I know the credit card points, people don't like it when I say that, but so much of money and finance is psychological, is mental. And a lot of people get on the internet and give their take, their point of view, their advice, and they neglect or they discount the psychology of everyday people. And I'm not going to name names because I love this person dearly. But I had this conversation with someone I know, and they were like, "Oh, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna get these free trips. I'm gonna get these free hotel stays," and um, they couldn't figure out why their credit card debt amount. First of all, the fact that they had a sizable amount of credit card debt proves my first point. Those miles are not free, but the amount, like they kind of were caught off guard by the amount of total debt they had. And again, and they finally did admit that, you know, after they committed to getting out of debt, and they really looked at their spending behavior, that sort of thing, and realized like, oh, I was buying stuff I normally would not buy, because in the back of my head, I kept thinking more points. I can go on vacation more. I can upgrade a flight, that kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Scrolling through your comments. Uh, is that Keep Beauty? What about keeping the balance at 30%? My uncle stands by this tip. Your uncle is correct. One of the things that goes into calculating your credit score, and your credit score is related to how much you are charged in interest. You want to keep that 30%. It's not the balance at 30%, it is your credit utilization rate of all of the credit, like credit cards that you have available to you. The people at the credit bureau, they can see uh, how how many cards you have. They can see what the limit is on those cards, and keeping your usage of that credit below 30% keeps your credit, when they're calculating your credit score. 30% is where they want you to be. They don't want you to use more than 30% of all the credit available to you. So if you exceed that, you'll probably, if you've got some kind of credit monitoring service, you'll probably get a notification that says, oh, there was a drop in your credit score. And that would be why. So credit, now, I am not anti-credit card, but I got beef with credit card companies. And credit card companies play a game. Like, you would think, oh, I need to keep my credit utilization rate at zero. No, because they'll ding you if you don't use your credit. On my YouTube channel, if you didn't know me before today, maybe you didn't know that I have a YouTube channel. Not too long ago, I did a video about like why I don't worry about my credit score, and you shouldn't either, because a lot of what we think intuitively should help our credit score and how much importance we give our credit score, we shouldn't. But it works counter to that because the credit card companies are concerned with who they want you to be in debt, because they don't get paid if you're not in debt, y'all. Think about it. When you use a credit card, there is a fee, a processing fee that is paid by the company that is allowing you to use a credit card. And if they're smart, they're passing that fee on to you. But if all you did was use your credit card to buy stuff and immediately pay it off, if everybody did that, they would not make any money. Now, the reality is everybody is not going to do that. That is how they make money. But you would think, going back to this comment, you would think, oh, let me keep my credit utilization rate at 0. If you do that for too long, they will either, they might close your card, they might lower your limit, because there's some, you can get some quote unquote negative impacts because of that. It's a game. It is a game that they're trying to make money, and we the consumers are trying to reap the benefits without paying them too much money. So yes, your uncle is right. You do want to keep your credit utilization below 30% if you can. We will come back to that. I love this. I love to hear this. I'm like, I need to maybe add that to my list of things. Like, I have my hills that I will die on, that anybody who knows me knows that I'm going to talk about these things. I think I might have to add this to the list, because I think the benefits you get from paying your bills, your credit card bill, particularly weekly or bi-weekly, I think that those are very, very good benefits. Oh my gosh. Rose, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm I'm shocked and very appreciative. Thank you for your super chat. Um, okay. Right. So I'm happy to see the number of you who are in the chat. Like, yeah, girl, I sit down every Friday. I pay my card every payday. I love to hear that. I love that. And also, I think it takes away some of the, I don't know the word, but when it comes to like money and credit cards, like a lot of times people avoid it, and that's actually low key another blind spot, is because there are all of these feelings wrapped up in money, whether it's feelings of shame, inadequacy, a lot of the feelings. Now that I'm thinking about this, a lot of the feelings people tend to have about money are not related. They're not good feelings. A lot of the feelings people have when it comes to money tend to be negative. And so there can develop a little bit of avoidance, where people are like, oh, okay, the statement came in the mail. I'm not going to look at that right now. Or the credit card bill came. I'm just going to pay the minimum. I don't want to see how much I owe in total. So avoiding the scary or the uncomfortable, those feelings I get when I have to look at this. And sometimes those feelings are not just about like how much you spent or how much you owe, but they're also about, I feel unknowledgeable. Like I don't know anything, so I'm just gonna keep it going. I don't want to dig into it. And that is a blind spot because more often than not, it ends up costing people money. Um, one of the things that I offer is one of the things that I do is a Get Started Investing Challenge that I host for 6 days exclusively for Black women because I want to create a space where you can ask the questions that you think are like, oh, this is a stupid question, I don't want to look dumb and I ask this question, or what have you. And one of the things that inevitably comes up is somebody's got a 401k through their job and they're like, I'd sign the paperwork for them to take the money out of my check. But girl, I don't know what that money is doing. I don't know what it's invested in. They send me the statements and I just put them in the drawer. The number of times I have heard that, and it's not, I don't think that avoidance is about like shame. It's just like, I don't know. It's a lack of knowledge and feeling like, oh, because I don't know anything, I don't I'm just not going to deal with this right now. And that's a blind spot. And that costs people so much money in the long term, where maybe because all they did was sign up and they never chose investments. The lady in HR chose the investments for them. And maybe those investments are expensive to own. So whatever gains they are making are being eaten away um, by fees. Because again, not knowing not knowing how much stuff costs, be it the interest on your loan, the fees associated with it, not knowing that's always going to cost you money and that always bites you in the ass. So in this example, if you're not paying attention to what your 401k is doing, like it might be doing okay, but you're paying for a lot of things you shouldn't be. And again, money that's going to fees is not going to growing your nest egg and your principal. So uh the avoidance that often happens when we talk about finances or avoiding dealing with your finances, late fees, interest, you're paying for stuff you don't want, you don't need, but you don't know because you haven't dealt with it. I've seen that so many times. um yeah. Okay, again, I'm scrolling through your comments because I don't want to miss anybody's comment. Okay. um Coffee Brown, expat bound. Love that name. My plan is to pay off my credit cards in full once I moved in May. I've paid off all my debt down to this last $5,000. I'm not ever coming back to the US, so I'm not concerned about my credit score. Uh, Kudos to you for paying down your debt. I would caution you just a tinge about not caring about your credit score, because generally speaking, I think most of us pay too much attention to our credit score. But I think there are a couple of reasons why you don't want to completely divest yourself from it. Um, I don't know if you were here, was that a month ago, Rashida, where you talked about uh, your apartment hunting process? And one of the apartments Rashida was interested in asked for her credit report in her home country. Now, I have been outside the US over 9 years. outside of South Africa. This is the first time I've ever heard that happening. And I have absolutely never heard that happen in Mexico. So, I mean, you're doing what you're supposed to do anyway. So it's not like, you're working against yourself. But I would say there is this minuscule chance, this tiny possibility that you might end up someplace where they want your U.S. credit score. So it doesn't. A year ago, I would have told you outside of South Africa, girl, don't worry about it. The other thing, the other reason I caution you and anybody who's thinking like, oh, they don't care about credit scores anywhere else in the world, it doesn't matter. If by chance you need to return to the US, whether you want to or not, or you need to borrow money from a financial institution in the US, your US credit score is going to come into play. Because I'm with you. When I left the United States in 2016, I had no plans on ever going back, and those are still my plans. One of the things that I recommend people do once they are outside the US, go ahead and lock your credit. Not lock it, freeze, because locking is different than freezing. Go ahead and freeze your credit. That way you can preserve the work that you have done of paying down your debt, and you don't have to worry about somebody stealing your identity, applying for credit in your name, and damaging your standing just on the small chance that you might ever need it again. Because between the data breaches and Doge stealing all of our information, it's a pretty good chance that all of our names, our social security numbers, everything about us is out there on the not the black web, dark web. So that's what I tell people to do, is to go ahead, freeze your credit. It is free. You do have to freeze it with each of the credit bureaus separately. You have to do that separately, but it is free to do, and it will protect this thing that you worked hard to, to improve. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to catch up to where we are in the chat. I'm gonna mark that one to come back to you. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't realize I was so behind in the chat. Ah, okay. Oh, y'all have a lot of good questions. So I'm sitting here marking lots of these so we can come back and talk about them. I love this. There's a lot of good information here. If you're somebody who happens to be watching this at like your credit cards, that's the thing that you said you want to focus on. A lot of y'all got great information that you are sharing in the chat about like how to play the game. Okay. All right. So we talked about not knowing where your money is going, not tracking your spending. we didn't talk about when we mentioned that one big financial blind spot is not tracking your spending. I'm surprised that nobody shared what spending trackers that they are using. Because what was it, last year before, Mint went out of business, and everybody, a lot of folks were like, oh no, I've been using Mint forever. What am I going to use instead? So if you have one, drop that in the chat. I use something called Toshal Finance. I will drop that in the chat. I use Toshal Finance, and I started using it in 2017, 2018, because as someone who travels a lot and somebody who lives in my money is one currency, but I'm often spending it in other currencies. It lets you track your spending in multiple currencies. I believe there are some other apps that do that, but I do not have an iPhone, and this is the one that I found that works with Android. So yes. Okay. Copilot, I hadn't heard of that. You need a budget. Okay. So yeah, Tasha has been my go-to because, like I have the currency of the country I live in, the currency my money is in, and then traveling on top of that, it has been very helpful for me. But you don't have to use an app. I'm a big fan of like actually writing it down. There is something about, like, this is why I'm a big fan of using cash over credit cards, is because when I put a credit card down, that money is not real to me. But if I have to count cash out of my pockets, the impact of what I am spending hits me differently than when I just put it on a card. And so if you want to write it down, do like Alicia is saying here, um, pen and paper, do a spreadsheet, that works too. What's important is that you are you are keeping track of it. That's what's important. Okay. That would be why I haven't heard of it. I would not want my financial information in an AI tool. I would not want that. It's bad enough how much of our information they already have. I would not want to give them any additional. Okay, so to review, we talked about the impact of not knowing how you are spending your money, spending it without intention. We talked about not knowing what things are costing you, like the interest rates on your credit cards, the fees you are paying, not knowing that costs you. I think that extends to investments. This is okay. Now that I'm thinking about this, I apparently have a lot of hills that I am willing to die on. Because the next thing I have, okay. Glad you cleared that up, Carmen, because I was not feeling good about the idea that you were giving AI your financial information. So I'm glad you cleared that up. The next thing I have on my list here is, a blind spot is not knowing what your investments are costing you. And a hill I am willing to die on multiple times is the biggest, this is the I would say this is probably the biggest blind spot folks have when it comes to investing. And this doesn't matter if you are investing in your taxable brokerage account, if we're talking about a Roth IRA, if we're talking about a traditional 401k, a traditional IRA, doesn't matter. It does not matter. I think that this is the biggest financial blind spot is fees. There are, again, y'all, folks in the financial industry don't do anything for you for free out of the kindness of their heart. They are going to make some money. There are different ways that they can charge you money. And not paying attention to that now, I'm a money person, I'm not a math person, something to keep in mind. But all of the research, all of the data shows that fees have the ability, and not even by much, to decrease the value of a portfolio by hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, like for an individual, because they owned mutual funds that had fees attached to them. They were with a brokerage firm that charged, a fee for managing the account, so on and so forth. Even if your portfolio is modest, it will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars that you are giving away that could be being invested to, help you live the life that you want. So I think, and again, this goes back to that avoidance we were talking about earlier. A lot of people don't realize what they are paying or know that they are paying because they don't want to open the statement. They just sit it in the basket on the counter. They put it in that drawer. You know what drawer I'm talking about. And they don't come back with it. I had a client the other day, and that's what we were going through each of their accounts, trying to figure out, okay, these are the investments they have. How much are you paying for that? Because that money could be you could be investing that money. I've seen one, I'm trying to think, what was the amount of that total portfolio? But like, uh, uh, for somebody who, I'm not talking about millionaires. That's what I want to make clear here. I'm talking about everyday people like me and you could end up at retirement or whenever you're deciding, hey, I don't want to work no more. I want to use this money, could be missing out on $500,000 because you were invested in a fund that had an expense ratio of 1%. 1% sounds like a minuscule amount of money, but really it isn't. So fees, not knowing what your investment costs are, huge, 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 huge. Because think about it. When you get ready to stop working, what could you do with an extra $300, $400, $500,000? So huge, big mountain. Hill I am willing to die on. And yes, we all got that drawer. Like I said, uh, we all have that drawer. What is my blind spot? That's a good question. Sure, I have one. I'm sure I have one. Um, hmm. Well, I've already told y'all that when I pay for things with credit cards, that money is not real to me. So I have, because of that, I have I've put alerts, notification alerts, so that every time I use a credit card, I get a text that tells me how much I just spent. Particularly if I'm spending in pesos, I'm not thinking about what that's costing me in US dollars. And then when I anything, okay, I think that is my other blind spot. Automation, people, this is one of the things money people always tell you to do, like automate everything, automate your saving, automate like paying the minimum balance on your credit card. That's all good. I can't, there are other kinds of automation that are very bad for someone like me. So one of the other, now I use Tashel Finance and I make myself manually input my spending. And I think this is kind of goes back to what Alicia had said earlier. Like, and again, having the notification come from, I have the notification on all of my credit card apps. So I get a notification from Capital One, plus I get a text from Capital One that says, hey girl, you just spent this money. I manually input my spending into my tracking app. With a lot of them, Tashel Finance included, you can have it automatically import, hey, all the stuff you spent on your credit card, here it is already in the app. If I do that, it does not exist. Because while some of y'all are putting the statement in the bottom drawer, I'm not looking at those transactions if they get imported into the app. They do not exist to me. I have to manually input that information. I have to manually input that information, otherwise it does not exist. So I think that's my blind spot, because I won't look at that automated data and then I have no idea what I've spent. Same thing, if I don't get that notification, I won't think about what I have spent on a credit card, which is why one of my goals, one of my financial priorities this year has been to use cash. Because one, I'm trying to shop smaller. And again, like I told y'all, when you use a credit card, the people who are accepting your credit card, they have to pay a fee. And technically, it is illegal here in Mexico for them to say, oh, you're going to use your card, you got to pay X amount extra. That is technically illegal. Now, if they build it into the price of the product, which is what most people do, no big deal. But I'm trying to help them keep more money in their pocket. I am trying to be more conscious of what I am spending and how I am spending it. So I have been trying to use more cash. Those are my financial priorities for this year. Black Women Build Well says, I feel like 100% automation makes me disconnected from my money. There are some bills I do not want to put on automatic payment. Yes, I get that completely. Buy now, pay later blind spots. Yes. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but again, this idea that there's lots of blind spots connected to this, because first of all, why are you putting it on buy now, pay later? Because you can do that with a Subway sandwich. If you order it, what is it, DoorDash or one of them, you can buy your sandwich today and pay for it later. And I feel like this, I dislike this even more than putting something like that on a credit card. Because again, when you use your credit card to buy your Subway sandwich, what you're saying is, I need a loan to buy this Subway sandwich, which should make you question that. But I think here is, again, they're not doing that for free. I think a lot of times, if you look at the fees that they charge versus the interest you would be paying if you put it on a traditional credit card, you're probably paying more with the buy now, pay later. And then it's kind of out of mind until that money gets sapped out of your account. I saw somebody had a video on Instagram where his mom bought like $1,500 worth of stuff, and she saw the buy now, pay later was like $150. And so she thought by doing the buy now, pay later, she would only have to pay $150 versus, oh no, you've got multiple payments of that amount. Also, I think it is very easy for those to add up because, $15 here, $30 there. Next thing you know, you're looking around and there's $272 coming out of your account to pay for things you've already consumed, you've already done, what have you. So yeah, buy now, pay later. I think if you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many blind spots. There's so many things I've got to try and keep track of. It's overwhelming. I think that if you move through life asking yourself the question, this thing that is available to me, who does that benefit? How are understanding how someone is making money? Because I'm not saying you should not pay for these services or these conveniences, but I think it is very important to be educated and to understand how are they making the money from you. I think about those payday loans, which are predatory. That goes without saying. And it's like, oh, I've got really horrible credit. I can get this payday loan. Okay. So if you have a horrible credit, which means you're a major credit risk, why would they give you this loan with minimum documentation? Oh, it's because they're going to charge you 900% interest. They are going to penalize you like, oh, I'm gonna lend you the money, but you're going to pay multiple times what you have borrowed because of that. I think if all of these different things that we're talking about today feel a little overwhelming, just kind of down to one question of how are they making money? What's the incentive here? Um, you know, that sort of thing. That's what I think. Um, okay. Uh, I was gonna pull up some of the questions y'all have been asking. Um, if you pay off your credit card, so on the weekly basis, um, well, here's the thing. It's with the credit card people, I on an average day, I don't give two flying fucks about my credit utilization rate. Credit, my stance is credit is really important if you need a loan. If you don't foresee that I'm going to need to get a home equity loan, a mortgage, a car loan, anything like that, stressing about like, oh, because I'm paying this off and I'm lowering my credit utilization rate too much. Yes, they're still going to ding your credit score. Eventually, it will come back up. The only people who should be monitoring their credit score with any kind of regularity are people who are in the process of getting new loans. Outside of that, y'all, don't stress about it. You want to protect your credit. You want to protect your credit score. This is why I recommend freezing your credit when you're not using it, if you're not actively in the process of getting new loans. Outside of that, freeze it. But they will ding you and there's nothing that you can do about it. And then eventually your credit score will come back up. Now, the people who have real concern are the people who have paid everything off and they're not using any cards. They are not taking out any additional loans. I have heard of situations where they don't have a credit, like their credit history goes away. Basically, they have to start over from scratch because, again, it's a game. So if you are somebody who is very, very firm in your belief that, like, I don't want to have any debt, that is fine. As several people have mentioned in the chat, you can set up a reoccurring bill that goes to each of the credit cards and set it to auto pay. That keeps you like, oh, I've charged, I've paid off. It keeps you in the game without having, to get caught up. But if you pay off everything and you're like, I'm never using credit, they will take, there have been instances where people have applied somewhere and they're like, oh, we can't find a credit history for you because they were doing what we would think would make us a good credit risk. But according to the credit bureaus, no, it's a game. And it's a game they don't want us to win. So, you stay in the game, but don't stress about it too much. Don't stress about it too much at all. Um, Flutter by PNW says, one of the best moves I ever made was to quit a job, roll over my 401k into an IRA that I controlled. The expenses on the 401k ate into my gains. Yes, yes. And a lot of people don't realize this because it's like, and I'm sure this is true for you, Flutterby, that like you had access to that information when you worked for that employer, but a lot of people kind of feel like it shouldn't be something that they're digging into or they're paying too much attention to. So bravo to you. And I love women making choices that give them more control and more options with their money. That has been my experience too. I used to be a teacher in the state of Texas, and when I decided that I was no longer ever, ever, ever going to teach in the state of Texas again, I made a decision to roll over my teacher retirement. Very, very risky, very risky. But honestly, I didn't trust that the state of Texas wasn't going to try and screw me over. And if I lose all my money, that's on me. I ain't gonna be too mad at me. State of Texas loses my money, I'm gonna be mad. Um, Rolled it over and have quad quadrupled it. Yeah, the money that I had with the state of Texas, that had I taken the traditional um, pension payments after waiting another 20 years to tap into that money, and I probably would have only broken even that when they paid me out in the pension, I probably would have only gotten what I put in. Um, I have quadrupled that money. So yes, I love that. Thank you, Kiki. I made this from some fabric that I got in the Netherlands a few years ago. So thank you for asking that. Um, okay. You have several questions here. My 401k is vested now, and I don't know what that means. Okay. Basically, it means that the money in there is actually your money now. Until you are fully vested, and everybody's 401k doesn't have that, if you were to leave and go somewhere else, some of that money wouldn't have went with you. But now that you're vested, that's a good thing. Celebrate that. All the money is yours now. Where's your other comment? I just saw it. All of a sudden, the comments like jumped a whole bunch. And you had another comment here. I thought you said that you were looking for a class or a suggestion. Here it is. Okay, I need a financial book or class. Classes. All right. Today is March 29th. April, which is in just a few days, is Financial Literacy Month. And in honor of that, I am going to be hosting several classes. And I picked your 401k question because I'm offering some new classes that I have not offered before. And I am also offering the Get Started Investing Challenge, which is a 6-day challenge that does exactly what the name implies. It helps you get started, figuring out how do I do this? How do I open an account? How do I buy an investment? How do I figure out if this is something I want to buy? That is a 6-day challenge that is open to Black women. But from doing the challenge over the last few years, I have learned that there are some specific groups that kind of need their own little space. And the ladies with the 401ks who are like you and like, what does it mean vested, non-vested? What are my best options inside this 401k? Like Flutter by PNW was talking about the stuff that was in her employer's 401k was costing her money. So I'm doing a class that is specifically focused on 401ks. Okay. If you have a 403b, that's you as well. 401ks, 403bs, a employer benefit thing. I'm doing another class on retirement math. Because I am coming to you today from my lovely apartment in my favoriteest city in the world, Mexico City, having officially retired at 45 after being a teacher for 20 some odd years. And why is that possible? Because I did the math. One day I looked up and I looked at what it would cost me, what would my life cost me? And I looked at what were my investments, how much income I had coming in, and realized, hey, if you don't live in the United States, you could be retired now. Now, am I saying everybody needs to retire outside the US? No, but yes. But doing the math. Because again, we're talking about blind spots. A lot of folks don't realize they've got enough money to do whatever it is they want to do, but they don't realize that because they're avoiding it. Blind spot. But they actually do have the money. So I'm doing a class on the math, figuring out how much do I need? Do I already have enough? How do I figure that out? And then I'm also doing a class on basically, let's say you've already done, you have a portfolio. Either it's through your investments at work, it's through your own account. A lot of folks will just keep putting money in, but they never take a moment to look at, is this portfolio doing what it's supposed to do? Is it doing what I need it to do? So I have a separate class specifically for kind of a portfolio checkup, seeing where are my winners? What are my losers? Do I need to rebalance? How do I rebalance? So yes, as Rashida has dropped links in the chat, but she has also linked all of that in the description of this video. Um, so yes, I have some classes coming up. You asked for a book rec. Uh, Rebloom Room already knows. If you're like, I don't know where to start and I don't know anything, um, hold on. I got a link, y'all. Give me a second to find it. I have a link. Oh, I have a link to because we don't fool with who are those people? The horrible people that overwork folks and lock them outside during tornadoes and don't pay people wages like they're supposed to. We don't support them. J.L. Collins just re-released. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time, and that is not my skill set. He just re-released a new edition of his book, A Simple Path to Wealth. I forgot my email address for a second. And I want to give y'all a link to that new. Oh, this is what I get for trying to type. And okay, apparently, I don't know my email address. Okay. I can't get y'all the link right now, but I do have the link. But the simple path to wealth is it's exactly what the title tells you. He explains very clearly what you can do. It's not super complicated. His language, his explanation, all good for that. Yeah, Baldy McEvil. I like that. um, your money or your life is, I think, more of a mindset thing. If you are, if money gives you some uncomfortable feelings, or you're at that place where a lot of us are. I was there about 11 years ago where you're like, I want to live my life in a way that is fulfilling and I am happy. And how can I use this money to get me there? I think your money or your life is a good choice for that. Um, but simple path to wealth, if you're like, I know I'm supposed to be investing, but I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do, that's a good entry point without it being like super jargony and that sort of thing. And I wish I could log into my bookshop account. I need to set these, I need to have, well, wait, hold on, hold on. Um, I think I think because I have a page set up on Bookshop with like all of my money book recommendations. I wonder if Picky Girl Travels the World comes up like when you try to pick a bookstore. I don't know. I got to do better on that. So that was one of my blind spots, and now I know how to fix it. Fix it. Okay, blame some of these financial advisors who don't look at your investments if you are fearful and might take actions that could work against you. I still look because I need to know. Yes, what my philosophy is you need to be an informed consumer because everybody is trying to profit in some way. And I'm not saying like my classes aren't free. There's a profit motive there. But I think you need to understand what it is you're trying to buy. What is it, if people have valuable knowledge and what have you, then yeah, pay them. I think about it like going to buy a car. If you show up to buy a car and you've not looked at prices, you've not looked at the various models and what features come with it, um, that car salesman is going to eat you alive. And by that, I mean they are going to rip you off. They are going to make you pay either through financing, they're going to charge you more. So I very much believe in being an informed consumer. And that is why I am a financial educator. I am not an investment advisor or anything like that. I don't want to be that. But I want to make sure that you, the individual, go in there, just like Barry said, you know as much as they do, because you can't ask the right questions if you don't have some kind of background information, some kind of background knowledge. Think about it, same thing, like when you buy a house, you buy a car, you're going into any kind of interaction, like at the jewelry store, knowing if you're going to spend a significant amount on a piece of art, a piece of jewelry, you need to understand, well, what should things cost? What are things to look at to see if this is counterfeit or blah, blah, blah. So that is my philosophy. Is making sure that you are a informed consumer so that nobody can take advantage of you and you can ask the right questions. Um, and so, yes, bookshop.org, if y'all don't know, is where you should be buying your books from. Because any purchase there, you can identify a specific bookstore that you want portion of your purchase to go to helping. So like specifically, there is a Black owned bookstore in Houston where I am from, that if I buy things, I'm like, yeah, help them out. Um, Independent bookstores, you're trying to keep them in business, you should be shopping at bookshop.org. I have a page that I think, let's see if I can find it, where I've put kind of a list of books. But yes, and if you're thinking that, oh, but I read, what do you call those things? Ebooks. Bookshop.org now sells ebooks, and so you can read it pretty much on almost any device. So that is a favorite of mine. Um, Going back to our list of financial blind spots. Um, oh, okay. I've got several here that are related to investing. We talked about not knowing what your investments are actually costing you, like the cost of owning them, any fees associated with them, but also I would say blindly investing, like not not having like kind of like a periodic check-in as to, like, some people very much set in their mind, and this is partially because of the way we talk about investment accounts. We talk about, well, we tell people, oh, they have a 401k at your job, you need to be investing in your 401k. Oh, you don't have an IRA, you need to invest in your IRA. And I've come across this several times where people think simply making sure that the money is going to that account is investing. That is not the case. Those are just containers, and you have to choose investments in there. And so you can, of course, automate it so that your money is going to buy those same investments over time. But things change. Are there fees associated with that? Are the fees still the same? Are you still cool with what those fees are? Do those investments still fit your financial goals? This is why I decided to offer the portfolio checkup class, because just blindly putting money into an investment, I mean, I guess technically that is better than nothing, but it could still be costing you on the back end and you not be aware of it. So that is something we would want to talk about. It's hard when you can't reach your hand, right? Um, how many of you signed up for something and you signed up for an account, you signed up for an app, and it was free for the introductory timeline, and then you forgot to cancel it? Um, subscriptions, auto pay things that you've just kind of put to the back of your brain and you're not thinking about, those are blind spots and they're costing you. One of the things that I love for people to do, and if you haven't done this year, take today. Log into each of your various credit card companies. So if you've got a Capital One card, and you've got an Amex, and you've got a Citibank card, log into each one of them. Go to the section where it gives you the statements and look back at probably either between December of 2025 and January of 2026, or go between January 2026 and February 2026. There should be a year-end statement that basically looks back at all of your spending the prior year. If you've not pulled those and downloaded them, do that today. And that's one, I love that activity because one, you will get an idea of where your money is going. Two, those sneaky things that you forgot to cancel, all of a sudden you'll start to see a reoccurring thing and it'll show up month by month. It's all in one place. And so that will help you find those things. Kat's got good advice here. Put the date that the subscription renews on your calendar at the time that you sign up. I just did this because what is it? Whatever that Uber thing is, like Uber Eats, where it was like, usually I don't get caught up by these, but I got beef with Uber because I had done this before. I had signed up because I was lured in by the possibility of saving the delivery fee, and I forgot to cancel whatever that thing is called, Uber One or whatever, and they charged me for a month that I don't think they should have, and they would not give me back my money. And so that little grudge has been living rent free in my head for about 2 years. And I guess I'm at the point in the cycle where they're going to offer me that again. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? Y'all owe me, but you're not going to get me this year. You're not going to get me. I'm not going to get caught up. So as soon as I was making that order, I was like, let me put on my calendar when this needs to be canceled so that they don't get me. And it is April 4th. So I will be canceling it this week. But yes, that's how you avoid having that blind spot come and sneak up on you. Yes, surprise, surprise. Rashida is still out there running the streets, bopping around the world. And so I am here today. Um, Excuse me, y'all. Let me get a little water. Okay. Um, the other thing that I have on my list is not not reading the fine print. And this is applicable in a lot of ways. Is it your travel insurance? Is it you signed up for this thing and you didn't read the fine print about what was covered, how long they're going to cover? I think about because I on my YouTube channel, I have done a couple of videos about like aging abroad and things, to consider and all of that. And one of the things that comes up is I don't, this was a blind spot for me because it never occurred to me that this was even a thing. There is a point at which insurance companies, like medical insurance companies, will no longer insure you. Like you can not have ever had a claim or what have you, but you get to a certain age and they will no longer offer you a policy. So what happens then? How will you pay for medical care? And so that's one of those things that is in the fine print, but we often don't read it. Same thing with travel policies, particularly if you've got like travel insurance. You should not travel without travel insurance. Um, you say, okay, I put my information in, I get the policy. But you didn't read the fine print where it said that there are certain activities that they classify as risk seeking. And if you are injured in one of those risk seeking activities, they will not pay. And I know for some policies, if you ride a scooter, so like Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, very, very common to catch like the ride sharing apps is to ride on a scooter. You might want to double check your insurance policy to make sure that that is not considered risk seeking behavior. Because in the event that there is an accident or you fall off and you hurt your arm, they won't pay for that. So understanding when you buy travel insurance, travel medical insurance, regular medical insurance. And I know this is one of those things that it's like, oh, there's so much there. I don't know all these words, but reading the fine print and making sure you understand what is covered and what is not covered. Um, Okay, I see a lot of y'all are answering this question. I think there was another question earlier about, I hate when I scroll over it trying to see the question, it covers it up and then I can't see it. I thought there was another banking question here. Okay, maybe, okay. I guess that was this question. Is the Charles Schwab card good for travel? I hear people recommend it. What you are hearing people recommend is not a credit card, it is a debit card. Charles Schwab got a reputation as being very travel friendly because they have an account that works very similarly to a checking account. Um, it is not a checking account because Charles Schwab is not a bank. Okay. But It is a debit card, and it will rebate any ATM fees that you are charged. And so that's why you hear people talking about that. Fidelity has a similar card that is attached to their cash management account. Debit card, not a credit card. And just a reminder, guys, you should not be using your debit card to pay for things. I don't think you should be using your debit card to pay for anything. But if you want to do that in your home country, that's your business. But if you are traveling internationally, do not pay for things with your debit card. Either use your debit card. Either use your debit card to get cash from the ATM, or if you want to pay electronically, pay with a credit card. This is another one of these hills I'm going to die on. And the reason this is my advice to you is because your liability, if somehow that card has been compromised, is significantly lower on the credit card. For most credit card issuers, you would probably be on the hook for at most $50. If it is a credit card that you were someplace and somebody cloned your card, stole your information, what have you, and then went on a shopping spree, if that is a credit card and you follow the credit card's policy of what to do when that happens, you probably are on the hook for $50. If that is your debit card and they go on a shopping spree with the cash in your account, you might see that money again, you might not. So if because paying electronically in this world that we live in right now is a gamble. Everybody is trying to steal our information so that they can do some fraud. Okay, so it is a gamble. I am going to gamble with the credit card company's money, not my money. So don't be using your debit card to pay for things. Get the cash or put it on a credit card. And hey, as we've been talking about, you can immediately send the credit card a payment to cover the cost of what you have charged. But do not open up your wallet wide for these criminals. Don't do that. Absolutely. I ain't got no issue with a little life, but this is substantial fraud. This is heavy fraud. Little life fraud, I look the other way. Okay. Um, this is a good question, Coffee Brown, expat bound. Um, being a U.S. citizen makes your life can make your life financially difficult if you are living in another country. There have been instances where brokerage firms has sent people letters and said, hey, we finna liquidate your account by X and such day, blah, blah, blah. What you need to make sure the best practices here, because if you have a Schwab account, a Fidelity account, and you live in the US and you periodically travel, that's not what is causing these problems. That is to be expected. What complicates things is when you live in another country and the center of your financial situation is in another country. And so what most people do to avoid those problems is to always have a US mailing address to use with those accounts. Those are your best moves to keep that from happening. I'm trying to read this question. Oh, okay. Okay. Sometimes my brain reads the words, but it doesn't understand them. That is, um, that's a thing. That's, now as a 51-year-old woman, that's part of the joys of aging. Okay. I am glad you asked this question, glass ever full, because just was it last week? I sent Rashida a text because I was so appalled at how this ATM was trying to rob me. Her question: when you get cash from the ATM, should you not agree to their suggested conversion rate? Is that right? That is right. And I'm going to give you a personal example from my life just within the last week. Went to the ATM across the street from my house, uh, requested the as much cash as they could give me, and they give the little pop-up comes up where they say, this is the fee for using this ATM. Do you want to pay it? Yes. Then the next screen comes up and they're like, would you like to withdraw this money from your account in dollars? That's how they be trying to trick you. If you are someone who is not used to withdrawing money from an ATM internationally, you might think, oh, I don't have to do the math. They're doing it for me. They are telling me this is how many dollars I am asking from my account. And people will click yes to do that. And they don't read the little print at the bottom that says this is subject to a surcharge. And then they'll give you what the exchange rate is. And most people, particularly people who are just traveling, are not walking around thinking about, oh, what is the exchange rate today? Because I live abroad, I be knowing what the exchange rate is on a daily basis. But I know most people don't think about that. And so people will accept, because it's a separate question than this is what the ATM is charging. It is like, will you accept the conversion? Please, please, please always say no. Because this is a little game I play. I look at how much they say they would, if I had accepted the exchange rate, how much they would have taken out of my account versus after I reject that, I get the cash out. My bank sends me an email and says there's a withdrawal of this amount. The last time, y'all, there was a $50 difference. Had I accepted their exchange rate, because remember, everybody's trying to make money here. They are offering you this service of being able to withdraw in USD, but they're charging you by giving you a shitty exchange rate. Had I accepted it, I would have given that bank $50 of my money for nothing. So you are correct. You should not accept the exchange rate. And if saying no to that conversion, if saying no to that conversion ends the transaction, you didn't want to use that ATM anyway, because those people are shisty, little light fraud, if you would. So yes, you are correct. You do not want to do that. Okay. Seeing what other. Okay. So yes, you are correct in that. Going back through the starred ones. Because I have one more thing on my list for y'all. Okay. Okay. So we're here today talking about financial blind spots that are hurting you. This one, I don't think a lot of folks think about because this is a problem for later. A lot of you won't be around, so you don't think about it. But as I told you, I on my YouTube channel, I have been doing a series about like aging, death and dying, end of life, blah, blah, blah. But this one, you don't have to be dead. You could just be incapacitated. Whether you are in the United States and that is where you plan to stay, or if you are planning a move abroad, if you are already abroad. Because I years ago, I did a video called like 10 money moves to make before you move abroad. So this has always been a blind spot on my list. And so I'm taking this opportunity to remind y'all again. Do you have somebody who can access your money if you are incapacitated, if you die? And I know talking about death makes some folks uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. I hate that I'm the one that has to break this to you, but you're gonna die. I'm gonna die. We're all going to die. So whether we're talking about that or we're talking about a situation where you fell down, you hurt your ankle, you have to go to the hospital, and maybe you hit your head too and you're not all the way there. Is there somebody who can use your credit card to pay for that service? Because if you're outside the US, going to the doctor, particularly in a place like Mexico, it's pay to play. You gotta pay first. They don't send bills here. If you are in Europe, that's a little different, Western Europe. But is there somebody who can access some cash you have? Whether that is, hey, this person has a key to my apartment. I keep X amount of cash in the bottom drawer of my dresser. Is it somebody that you have given, made an authorized user on a credit card? Is there someone that can access your money, your contacts, if something were to happen to you? Like, is there somebody who knows how to get into your phone? Is there somebody who knows what different bank accounts you have? If the answer to any of those questions has been no, you need to get on that. That is a wide open blind spot that it could cost you, but it's really it's going to make some folks' lives difficult, because it's going to hold up things. If particularly, I think about it a lot, given where I live, that if I need to go to the hospital, somebody's got to have my insurance information. Somebody's got to know how to lay their hand on a credit card to pay those people, because they will not treat you. Because again, coming from the US, we're like, well, I mean, I guess if it's an emergency thing, life or death, they will stabilize you and then they're going to be looking to get paid. And ain't nothing wrong with that. But you want to make sure that somebody knows, somebody has the access, somebody can help in that situation. Yeah. And that's why I say it looks a little different internationally, but if you are stateside, this is still a blind spot that can come back to bite you. And so we all need to have someone. And if you are like, I don't have any family and I don't have any friends, then you need to hire somebody, a lawyer, something. But you should not, everything should not just be up here in your brain and nobody know how to access things, how to pay for things. big, big blind spot. I'm looking at my list to see if there is anything that I have left off. I think we have hit everything on my list. I'm going to go back through the questions to see if we have hit those. We did. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I think we did it, y'all. I think we did it. If if you found this helpful, this conversation, please share this video with somebody. If you are not subscribed to this channel, I think Rashida would appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to make sure that her content continues to come to your feed so that you can see what she's talking about from week to week. And like I mentioned earlier, April is Financial Literacy Month. So on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram, I'm at Picky Girl Travels on Instagram. There will be content all month about various financial topics, because what we want is for everybody to have a level of financial literacy that allows them to move in a way, very confident financially. That's one of my big missions in life. Is I want every one of you to feel confident when it comes to your finances. And so, like I said, all of the month of April, that's what we're going to be doing. If any of the classes that I mentioned earlier sounded interesting to you and you want to get more information of those, the portfolio checkup class, the retirement math class, the 401k class, or the Get Started Investing Challenge, which is 6 days long. They are all linked in the description of this video. And I think that is it for me. I thank y'all for being the wonderful audience that I knew you all to be, and being very welcoming and wishing me a happy birthday. My birthday was very good, you know, and so hopefully I will see y'all somewhere out here on the internet and talk to you guys later. Goodbye.